Okay, this video is called If I Was a Billionaire, What Would I Do? Alright, now the definition of money is the ability to exchange, the ability to make other people do things. So in our society, basically, whoever has the most money can make the most other people do stuff, meaning they have the most power. So having a lot of money is having a lot of power in modern society. And the current billionaires, for the most part, they hate the proles. They want to create an electronic prison for them and reduce their numbers, okay? But, I would try to help the proles. That's why I like that Andrew Lloyd Webber, art collector, guy in England who wrote all the great musicals. Okay, so here's what I would do if I had the resources and money. I would change the entire school system. First of all, I would teach study skills as the first subject. It's the most important subject. And I would teach how to learn how to read with phonics, not the look-say methods designed to create dyslexia and make people illiterate. I would have a big library, and for teaching study skills, I've gone to that in great deal before, teaching memorization systems, all the study tricks, there's a whole bunch of them. It raises a person's IQ about 30 points for academics. I'd have a big library, including comic books. Let the kids read whatever they want. If they read whatever they want, they'll read a lot more. And then they'll just develop the ability to read, and they'll see it as a useful, fun thing. I'd have a class on the ancient Greeks and Romans. That would be a requirement right from the beginning, class on the Bible. It's been shown anywhere that once people start reading the Bible, their academic ability dramatically increases. I'd have a class on freedom, learn all about the history of freedom in the world. And the cornerstones are Christianity, the Constitution, and capitalism, laissez-faire capitalism, and free speech. I'd have a drawing class. You can take drawing and connect it to whatever else you do the whole rest of your life. And some people might say to me, oh, well, what about the subjects they're taking now? They're all BS. Nobody remembers anything. I've interviewed like 100 people. Everybody always says the same thing. I ask them, what do you remember from high school and grade school? They go, nothing. Well, I guess typing and driver's ed, because that's what they use. Everything else they forgot. It's designed to be forgotten. It's designed to be a waste of time. I would teach biography. I would teach history based on biography because that's memorable. And I would correlate it with the history of painting and sculpture and music. That's memorable. Chemistry class, I would mostly teach how to avoid estrogenic chemicals because that affects your life. For math, I would only go to algebra level. Hardly anyone needs trigonometry and calculus and all this stuff unless they're going to go into a very specialized field, so I wouldn't waste their time with it. And I would connect it to real life examples, how to finance a car, finance a house, start a business, how to invest. Okay, I would teach second language like Spanish, for example, based on communication, not based on grammar. Nobody learns a language from grammar. You don't learn English. We didn't learn English from grammar. We learned it from communicating. I would teach nutrition, especially, benefits of a plant-based diet, how to grow one's own food, how to filter water, and, practical things in life. How do you change a car tire? How do you change oil in a car? How do car motors work? Other motors work? I would have real things for people to aspire to, a real art museum for contemporary artists to show real art, not this modern art fake crap. I'd have a contest once a year for the artists to display their work so they can become known by the public for real art, none of this modern art fake stuff. I'd have same contest for poetry writing, short stories, and plays, and that'll develop sophisticated literature in the country, and as well as sophisticated oratory. I'd have a contest one time per year for best performance of Christian or traditional music. So all these things will reward talent and let the talent become known to the public so they can decide. I would stop the 503E exemption law on all the churches. Right now what that means is that they're not allowed to talk about anything controversial or political, or they lose their tax exemption. And that basically castrates them intellectually, prevents them from saying anything interesting, and that's why Mass stinks so bad. I would encourage churches to have guest speakers so they can bring in interesting people and people will actually want to go rather than nobody wants to listen to some lightweight alcoholic, etc. I would make online college more readily available to lower the cost of college. College is like the biggest ripoff in town, and it would increase the quality so there would be competition between the schools. Rather than right now the schools stink and they don't even try to have good professors because they know they can fill the seats with tuition-paying students even if their professors stink. I would stop adding fluoride and aluminum to the tap water. I mean, the typical stupid person doesn't know anything, doesn't understand why things happen, thinks everything just happens organically, naturally. But that's ridiculous. There should not be rat poison in the tap water, okay? Fluoride is rat poison, and so is aluminum. Aluminum is a metalloestrogen, toxic to the gonads, toxic to the brain, etc. I would subsidize organic food. Aluminum, by the way, is a metalloestrogen. I would subsidize organic food, not this GMO crap. I would subsidize small family farms, creating more depth and variety in the food system. I would encourage locally grown food. I would subsidize small businesses. That's a much better way to go, because then you end up with these big institutions that have monopolies and they play games with people, they play games with all kinds of things. I would let businesses hire whoever they want by meritocracy, let them try to be good, okay? Not by playing political games at all the institutions. I would repeat all the medical studies on stuff that needs to be repeated so you can figure out what the truth is, and I would not allow any corporate funding so you could really get to the truth, rather than everything funded by corporations. Almost all of it's nonsense. They just want to promote their product, otherwise they won't publish it. I would give women at least 6 months, maybe 1 year if possible, off for maternity leave to breastfeed a kid. If a woman wants to, bump off a baby, I would make her have an ultrasound and look at it before she does that. And, since I can't do any of this stuff, I'm not a billionaire, I'll just keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm going to write my books and make my YouTube videos. But it would be nice if the billionaires tried to help the pros instead of make things worse for them.